The Münchhausen Trilemma is a problem in philosophy, in epistemology, that basically states that nothing can be asserted with absolute certainty because any kind of claim will require a justification, and that justification will either fall on infinite regress or circularity or some kind of dogmatic assertion of some kind. And just like a dilemma where any option, two options, are not good, damned if you do, damned if you don't, in the trilemma, all the options, infinite regress, circularity, or some kind of foundationalist arbitrary assertion, are very unsatisfactory. So this is the problem. Nothing can be the problem that the trilemma presents us with, is that nothing can be asserted with absolute certainty. Infinite regress. Why should I exercise? Because it's good. Why is it good? Because you live longer. Why is it good to live longer? Because you get more experiences. Why is it good to have more experience? And so on and so forth. Why? The problem is it's an endless justification. It never reaches a grounding at all. Circularity. Why should I follow this rule? Because it's in the rule book. Or why is that person trustworthy? Yes. Why? Because they say they are. So the problem here is that the argument assumes what it's trying to prove. It begs the question. And dogmatic assertion. Why should I be good? Because it's good to be good. Or why should I respect human life? Because to respect human life is a good thing. Why is it a good thing? Just because it is. The problem here is that the foundation, this kind of dogmatic assertion, seems arbitrary. There's no real ground beneath it. It's just an arbitrary assertion just because I say so, or because I feel like it, or because I think so, or because there's a long tradition of it, or because there's consensus, or something else. But ultimately, it's a choice. It's arbitrary. So this is a kind of deadlock, kind of a gray, unsatisfactory reality that the trilemma presents us with, that any kind of claim will have always a very unsatisfactory justification to it. However, I believe that that is not the case specifically for the dogmatic assertion. Why? Only and only if the dogmatic assertion is not arbitrary. Any other way, it's a trilemma. It's a dilemma in three, very unsatisfactory. Either infinite regress, circularity, or just an arbitrary dogmatic assertion. However, if the foundationalist position, the dogmatic, let's say, assertion, is not arbitrary, then all of a sudden the trilemma no longer holds. It still holds in the fact that any kind of claim requires some kind of justification, and it will always be one of these three justifications, or one of these three ways. However, the kind of deadlock, very unsatisfactory weight that the trilemma presents us with loses its grip a bit if the foundation is not an arbitrary one. And this is what I believe is the case for MetaEthics, the ethics of metaphysical congruence. Just like any other system and any kind of claim, and particularly a moral claim, a moral framework, it requires a justification, and it will fall either on infinite regress, circularity, or foundationalist, dogmatic assertion. The difference being that in the case of MetaEthics, it is a non-arbitrary assertion. The first axiom of MetaEthics, reality and awareness, are the ground of ethics, the non-optional, non-arbitrary ground of ethics. For ethics to have any kind of power or authority, it must proceed from an absolute non-arbitrary ground. because if it is arbitrary one, it can be chosen, it can be denied. So for ethics to have this kind of proper grounding, the grounding needs to be non-arbitrary. And this is the reality and awareness field. Whether we want to make reality a simulation or not, whatever we make of reality, it's not, doesn't matter here. And whether we see reality and awareness as one thing or separate things doesn't really matter here. What matters is that these two fields of reality and awareness are absolutely unavoidable, absolutely unquestionable. To question them, to deny them, to be skeptic of them, is to assert them. We can only deny or doubt or assert reality or awareness in reality while being aware of it. So because of that, these two metaphysical structures are completely non-arbitrary. They are not chosen. They are not dependent on selection, on choice, on agreement. They simply are there. They are unavoidable, non-arbitrary. This is how MetaEthics, I was going to say solve, it doesn't solve, but how it moves away a little bit from this trilemma. Again, it's still true, it still holds true that any kind of assertion requires some kind of justification, but the justification here is a non-arbitrary one. It's not a dogmatic assertion just because I say so. It's a simple recognition of what is there and is unavoidable, reality and awareness. Now, the rest of the moral framework of MetaEthics is still questionable, and it still needs to hold, it needs to be proven. But at least its first axiom, which is that reality and awareness are the only appropriate field or ground for ethics, because it's a non-arbitrary ground, this holds true. And not even the Münchhausen Trilemma can do anything about it.